Well, believe it or not, 425, we are about to the end of the semester. We've got a few sessions left and some, obviously, some major components of the class remaining, but most of the pure information has been presented. So, in terms of what you need to develop your final project, other than data analysis and a little bit about interpreting data, you've got what you need. And your initial proposal, your rough draft of your proposal is actually due a week from today, a week from October 21. It's due on the 28th. So you need to be thinking about how you're going to get that together and what you're going to present. So I want to give you this today. I want to give you some details about the final project and help you work through putting this together as you get ready to move in towards the end of the semester. So, what the final project is an evaluation plan. That's what you've been charged with developing. Remember, all the way back to week 3, you identified the program that you intend to develop an evaluation plan for. So, you've got that. We know what you're going to do. It's the program that you identified way back. So, what you're going to do is you're going to develop a plan as if it were a proposal that you would develop and deliver to stakeholders in hopes of being hired as the independent evaluator for the program. Okay, so you're going to tell us exactly how you would evaluate, analyze, and interpret the findings of that evaluation for this particular program. That's what we're working on. Okay, just to give you an idea of kind of what you might be looking at. Okay, so think about, and this is just a general extension program that's a program that was aimed to protect water quality in a particular neighborhood in an educational program that was dealing with nitrates and pesticides in urban streams. Okay, so what were the program goals? Well, those are typically going to be the high level goals of the overall program, not objectives, not measures, but high level goals of the program. You're going to develop your evaluation questions, usually 3 to 5 of those that are based on those high level goals. They're going to relate directly back to those high level goals. Okay. So if the goal is to decrease the presence of nitrates and pesticides in urban streams, your evaluation questions are going to relate back directly to that goal. Okay, there's going to be some specific measures that you're going to base your evaluation on, and those measures will be related to the goal. So the goal is to decrease the presence of nitrates and pesticides. So maybe objective 1 is that homeowners are going to utilize soil testing to determine how to properly fertilize their lawn. Okay, so that's a measure. You're going to develop some evaluation questions on how you would determine if that measure has been met. Maybe objective 2 says that homeowners are going to properly identify pests and diseases prior to treatment. So we're dealing with the goal, which is dealing with water quality. Okay, we know that some of the issues are nitrates and pesticides that impact that program goal. So we now have 2 objectives: one that deals with nitrates, one that deals with pesticides. Okay, there's some specific measures under there that the program manager says we want 60% of the residents to participate in a soil testing campaign. Okay, maybe it could be higher than that. You decide. Okay, and then we got measures under objective 2 that said 70% of our program participants are going to increase their knowledge on insects, and 70% are going to increase their knowledge on disease diagnosis. All of those measures tie directly back to an objective, which ties directly back to a goal. Okay, so as you're laying out what you're going to evaluate, it needs to make logical sense, kind of like this. Okay, this is just an example. It doesn't have anything to do with the program that you identified, but you've got to think about the framework of how you would measure the success of the program that you did identify. And it's probably going to look something like this in terms of just that general overall framework. Okay, so let's talk specifically about the proposal and the components that your proposal should contain in terms of being successful. Okay, so first thing, you're going to tell me about the program. Tell me about the program that you selected. What are its goals and objectives? Okay, how are you going to find those? Well, you've identified the program. You've found some sources of information about the program, so you're going to have to do a little research. You have to do a little digging online and maybe find some information specifically about that program. You're probably going to have to tweak some of that out of some things that you read and that you research about your program. Okay. So try to figure out what the goals and objectives are. Who's its target audience? Who does it want to reach? What impact does it hope to achieve on that target audience and subsequently on the community or on society? So those are the kinds of things that I want to know about the program. This is not a long paper. This is just one section of your proposal, probably a paragraph or two. We're not talking about a huge description, but a brief description that gives me a picture about what the program is. Okay, then you're going to tell me what those evaluation questions are. Well, how are you going to do that? They're going to tie right back to the goals and objectives that you identified in the description. So, based on those goals and objectives, what are the evaluation questions? These are the high level questions that you're going to seek to answer. Probably 3 to 5, maximum 3 to 5 evaluation questions. Okay, not the questions that would be included in a survey or in a pre-test or post-test. These are the big questions. Okay, so identify 3 to 5 evaluation questions. How are you going to answer them? Where are you going to get the information? So what are your sources? All sources of information that you would utilize. Maybe some baseline data that you find online, maybe some records that you're able to find that you can look at that would give you some information. Most likely, the primary source of information is going to be the participants, okay? The people that participate in the program. That's your primary source of information, but you could have others that supplement that. What are your data collection methods? Last week we talked about different methods and some of the primary methods. Your evaluation should be a mixed method evaluation. You should have both quantitative and qualitative data collection methods. So, think about what you have from a quantitative standpoint. Might be tests, it might be surveys, it might be questionnaires. Qualitative data might be interviews, might be focus groups, might be a case study. Okay. So think about the different methods that we identified and make sure that you're including enough methods to adequately get quantitative and qualitative data and that you can put that together in a useful evaluation plan. Okay. So not going to have 5 methods, but you're going to have more than one. Okay, you're probably going to have a couple or 3 data collection methods included in your plan. And then, will you have that long-term follow-up? Is there a need for that? Some programs have a strong need for a long-term follow-up. Some do not. You tell me in your plan whether you think it has a need for a long-term follow-up. And if it does, when would that take place and how would you collect that data long-term? Okay. Excuse me. I want to see a sample of your data collection tools. So, if you're going to use surveys, questionnaires, pre-post tests, give me a sample of what those might look like. You don't have to give me a final form test or a final form evaluation instrument, but I want to see a good sample of what those might look like. If you're going to do interviews or focus groups, show me what the guide might be, the protocol might be that you would use to guide the interview. Some of those big questions and potential follow-up questions. Same with a focus group. If you're going to use observation, give me a checklist of the things that you're looking for in an observation. If you're going to observe a group of young people participating in an activity, what are the specific things that you're looking for in that observation? Okay, so give me the data collection tools and show me some samples of that. How are you going to analyze the data? You don't know that yet. We haven't covered it yet, but you can make sure that that's a section in your proposal. Okay. Give me your timeline. So that should be your basic timeline all the way from planning through your final report. Okay. So tell me what that timeline might look like. in terms of when you would begin developing your instruments, when you would implement the evaluation, the steps that you would go through to implement through the entire program from formative through summative evaluations, and then when you would present your findings. And then finally, give me a 1-page budget, okay? That doesn't have to be a full page, but give me a budget for what you think it would cost to complete the evaluation. This is your budget, so develop it in a realistic fashion, account for all the needed resources, including the time of the evaluator, okay? But if there needs to be some students hired on a part-time basis to help with data collection, or you decide what your budget should include, but I want to see a budget that would be a part of your proposal. Again, that's towards the end of your proposal. Does not have to be lengthy, but I want it to be realistic, and I want you to be thoughtful about what you include in that budget. Okay, so you are going to write this as a proposal. Okay, you're trying to get the job as an independent evaluator for the program that you choose. Sorry about the typo there. We don't need a W on the end of the, but you're going to get, you're trying to develop this as a proposal to get the job. You're not going to have any data. Okay, so there's no data that's been collected. You're telling me how you're going to collect and analyze the data. So you're not giving me an evaluation report, you're giving me an evaluation plan. That's what I'm looking for. How you write it, how you present it is a big part of this grade. Okay, so don't throw something together that's full of typos like my first line here in the slides. I realize that that's a mistake. Don't put it together like that. Proofread it. Make sure it's professionally written. Make sure that you've done a nice job of organizing it and making it readable and something that I could follow along with during your presentation. And it's a piece that's in my hand that if I'm the one selecting the evaluator for the program, that I could look at that and say, this individual right here has got it together. This one has a plan, understands what the evaluation's all about, and wants this job and wants to do a great job. So those are the kinds of things that I want to see. So your rough draft is due on the 28th. Okay, by midnight, I want to see a rough draft of your evaluation plan. It is not going to be complete, but it should be laid out in a format that I can look at it and get enough information to give you some feedback and tell you, oh boy, you're doing great, or you're really off here. You need to go back and rethink what you're presenting here. So it needs to be complete enough that I can give you feedback so that you can put the final polishes on it and get your final document turned in November 11th. So uh, I know it sounds like it's a little ways off. It will be here before we know it. So let's don't push this down the road. Let's don't kick the can. Let's get this part of it done. Get that rough draft turned in as soon as you can. I'll begin to look at those this week as they come in and provide feedback. The sooner you get it in, the sooner you get feedback. The sooner you get feedback, the sooner you can continue to develop and put polish on it and have it ready to turn in. So we'll have a couple more sessions with content that will be shared. I know we've got analyzing and interpreting evaluation data that's coming up. So we'll have that information that'll be shared over the next couple of weeks. Then we'll be down to the final project. I'll get information out to you in the next few days or the next week or so on signing up for your presentation time. And again, that will be, we'll do about 4 presentation times where several of you will sign up and make your presentation. It won't be to the whole class most likely, but hopefully there will be a good subset of the class that join in each of the sessions, and you can hear what the others are presenting. So you'll have an opportunity to hear your classmates present, and you'll have an opportunity to present your plan to me and to others in the class. And then there's a final exam. So we're getting close. The semester is almost over. There's a couple of quizzes left that you're able to do. And also, don't forget that there is that opportunity for extra credit work. So if you go do some independent study, if you take an participate in an online webinar or seminar of some sort on evaluation, or you go find a really great evaluation article and read it and write me a little summary of what that looks like, there's an opportunity for 50 points of extra credit for independent study that's directly related to evaluation. If you want to do that, be sure and do it. I'll get that information up, or you can submit that towards the end of the semester. But there's an opportunity for some extra credit if you want it. If you need anything this week as you're developing your draft, don't hesitate to reach out to me. There is no quiz this week. The last two quizzes will be when we have new information shared on interpreting and analyzing data. So that'll be the last two quizzes. No quiz this week. Work on this. Don't spend time thinking about a quiz. Work on your draft and let's get that submitted. That's a 50-point submission. So submitting your rough draft is also 50 points. So that takes place at the quiz this week. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be available via email, via text, via Canvas, however you want to reach out. Don't get behind. Don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it. And I look forward to seeing your rough drafts over the next few days. Thanks and giggle.